Hello, everybody. This is Love from Above with your Sibling Spirit Guides. I'm Maureen, and this is my brother.
Hey everyone, this is Brian.
We're so happy to be here. And on this podcast, we share channelings we receive from star beings, ascended masters, and occasionally our ancestors. And I got to begin with the backstory for today's topic, which numbers form the fabric of the universe. So, Brian, I was putting this together because, as you know, we're compiling the book, and I was just looking at all of the gifts we got from Aura. So, for those who are listening, Aura was the first group of star beings who we communicated with, and we communicated with them exclusively for almost 2 months. And Brian, and we got so many gifts from them, like the daily meditation we do to connect to heaven and earth, the amulets we wear. Can you think of any others?
Yeah, I mean they were like their original go-to for all this information. So um yeah, they're obviously we owe a lot to them, and I can't think of anything else, but we feel close to them from that perspective, definitely.
Yeah, and we started channeling with them, and then since then, like there's just so many beings we channel from, like we said, our ancestors, star beings, ascended masters. So I was going to go through an array of topics, but of course, Brian will tell you that for Aura, the number one thing that's important was numbers. And they came through this week and said, we really only want you to talk about numbers. And when I looked at this, I mean, numbers form the basis for our universe. The prime numbers represent the creator. They form our beings. They form the planets. Like, I almost feel like mentioning the other things that, or the other gifts that they gave me would be like talking about what nail polish I picked to paint my toenails. So this is just so crucial. And again, once again, I just don't think it's public information that's out there is how important numbers and mathematics are. So, Brian, you want to kick us off with the creator and numbers?
Right, right. So just to sort of, as you said, about numbers are the language of the universe. So it says unified consciousness is reflective of the indivisible nature of prime numbers. Prime numbers are whole and cannot be divided. The numeric digit that foundationally creates the world go unrecognized by your kind. To recognize the source of power is to recognize the creation of all human life. Numbers are the basic foundation of all life forms. And, even since then, we've had other entities come through and talk about the importance of numbers. And yeah, they keep on harping on that. And so it's something that, yeah, our just mankind doesn't realize the importance of numbers as far as it's everything really. So it is interesting, not that we're very adept at numbers, but it's something we're trying to do
We're
our
going to go
best to comprehend.
we're going to go into that later on in this session, how Brian and I really, I mean, Brian, I'll be honest, I felt like an idiot, I mean, I just felt like an idiot. My analogy that I gave Brian, it was like we were in like a post-college graduate course on literature when we didn't know the ABCs. It was so clear that our knowledge of mathematics, and I have an undergraduate degree, Brian has a master's degree. We don't even come close to being able to have the basic knowledge that other beings have around the universe. So I want to go in next to, they began almost every session with statements like this. Now we wish to address what we hold so dear, the numbers that rule the planets. We continue our discussion upon the numeric equations that form the basis of all that is. So, I mean, that's just interesting. Like, you don't think of numbers as forming the basis of a plant, as forming the basis of your body. Maybe your house, you could say in architecture or something like that, but numbers are really, that's it. They say we are but numeric digits assembled in a unique pattern that is presentable to others of your kind. So I don't know, Brian, have you ever heard of this information anywhere else? I have not.
No, no. I mean, it's something that I'm sure even our mathematicians and stuff don't comprehend the full impact that mathematics have on, life in general. So it's just something, there's so many things like this that, we sort of have blinders on and we don't really understand everything, the true nature of things today. So it's fascinating, and glad we could share this.
So the next one, Brian, I don't even really officially know. They talked about integer numbers, and then they actually went on to talk about composite numbers. I think integer numbers are the numbers that are not prime. Do you know what
Right.
integer numbers are?
I,
And I
yeah,
think composite numbers are numbers where, you could take like 33 and divide it into, 3 times 11, but not even sure about that. But they went on to say the numbers we address today are the integer numbers which complement the primes. The integer numbers are the gray space that fill the pillars of the prime numbers. It's not that integers are not important, it's that they rest between the powerful structures of the powerful primes. So I don't know. All I got from that is, once again, prime numbers are super, super, super important. What do you get from that, Brian?
yeah, and the other thing is when all this stuff was coming up, I was reading a lot about the mathematics, and the one thing that is big in mathematics today is they're trying to use like supercomputers and stuff to predict, like come up with the highest known prime number. And there's actually a cash award for this, right? If and they haven't found a formula. They did mention that there is a formula for this. And we'll get to that, but that might have been what they were sharing. But anyway, the idea is when I was reading one of these books, they were showing like graphically the prime numbers and then um with the gray numbers in between, like every number in between a prime number is essentially a gray number, and they were looking for visually patterns and things like that. And it was, that's one aspect, but now they're getting up to these enormous number of digits to come up with prime numbers. And this is actually really important. I don't think we mentioned this before, but it is used for actually, I think as far as computer security and like for tokens and stuff, they actually use prime numbers, and it's involved in computing, securing computers and things like that with these algorithms. They use prime numbers. So if there was a formula to determine prime numbers, it would, one aspect, I think is the computer security folks would be worried that, people could hack into computers and things like that. So there's a lot of ramifications of this, but yeah, I think that's the extent of what I understand. The gray spaces are those numbers in between the prime numbers.
Yeah. So it's with the cryptography. So,
Right, right.
so that's one glimpse of how powerful the primes, we don't even realize it, but we utilize it every day. If you're using a VPN with your passwords and stuff like that, I guess they're all employing prime numbers, but it is really interesting. So then they go on to talk about planetary numbers. And we talked about this a little bit in an earlier one, but they talked about, so not only, I mean, the prime numbers represent the creator, but each planet is assigned to, planetary numbers are assigned to each one of the creator's creations. Each planet is like a note on your musical instruments. That is the ultimate goal of our project, to achieve a symphony of sound across diverse planetary nations. And of course, our sound is the sound Om, which they said existed before like the planet even existed. The sound Om came first. So, it's just one other example of how numbers are embedded to everything. I mean, you don't think of our planet as being a number, but our planet is number 23. And so it's fascinating, I think. So what do you think, brother?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, I think talks to the power of saying Om, right? We've read a lot of things about you should chant Om, and that's, I think you're connecting to, Gaia and Earth by doing so. So I think that's very interesting that we've confirmed that from Aura, and that just alludes to the importance of that.
Yeah. So do you want to go for the next one, which not only does your planet have a number, but each location has a number?
Right. So each location has a number. The locations you travel to each resound with their unique signatures. So in this way, humans find patterns that please them. Some prefer the numeric codes of the cold uh, and the mountains. Others prefer numeric codes of the oceans. And all of your preferences have a numeric base. So it says for you, little one, they're talking to you, Maureen, you prefer numeric codes that end in repeating or mirrored digits. Interesting. The symmetry aligns with your present patterns. To recognize these patterns is to allow the greater source of the true wisdom of the planet to present itself. So did you realize, Maureen, you prefer numeric codes ending in repeating or mirrored digits?
Well, I do love repeating the mirror digits. I will tell you that. But it is interesting. So like I think of some of our cousins, like who, lived in Colorado and then moved, like after 20 years, like cousin Karen, lived in Colorado for like, decades and then moved to the beach. And so you wonder, like, did that change happen because there was did Karen have a pattern change within her being that no longer reflected where she was? Like, it's just really, really interesting. It spawns for me like just a host of other questions. But yeah, just one more example of numbers that are present in our lives that we're not even aware of. I mean, who knew that
Right.
a beach had a pattern compared to a mountain? Or I'm usually going to sacred sites. That's what really interests me. So I'm guessing that sacred sites have repeated or mirrored digits. Who knew?
Yeah.
And then they go on to say that not only do the places that we like to go to have numbers, but also our days have numbers. So if you have a good day versus a bad day, that there's a pattern, a numeric pattern with that. So Brian, you want to go into that one?
Right. So it says to see a pattern is to reveal the hidden secrets of the code that forms the binds of the structure. So we'll present an analogy of a closet. Each day, a human selects a wardrobe that they wish to be attired in. In the same way, you may select the energetic vibration that you wish to present in this day. So I mean, that's, being at a higher frequency, I guess, is that your understanding of that, or what's your take on
Yeah.
that?
So, and that's my understanding that like that higher frequency that you can achieve, through meditation, through dance, through a ritual, whatever it is to elevate yourself. It has a numeric pattern that resonates with it. Um, And they went on to say, to be knowledgeable of the energetic frequencies of your own being is to achieve a desired look. We wish to offer the suggestion to raise the daily vibrations of the brother-sister pair of this particular duo. So I don't really know how you would, how would you unlock that key? But it is just another interesting way that numbers are associated with our days that we don't even think about.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you think it's just meditating and keeping a higher vibration and not getting bogged down in like negative thoughts and things like that? I could think, but yeah, it's um there's so much to this that we're not really aware of, and it's interesting because that's how they communicate to you. I know they've mentioned that you have to be at a certain vibration, and then it's like, they mentioned like tuning in to a radio channel, but you have to be at a certain vibration for them to be able to communicate. Haven't they mentioned that?
Yeah, and it's interesting for those who are you listening. So what elicits that vibration? So they've told me that the best time to communicate is, and how I know when they're near is like I'll start to feel a rocking sensation, like I'm rocking back and forth like I'm in a boat, and then I know they're near. And but the best way they said for me to communicate is like when I'm deeply relaxed, either in the middle of the night or in the morning. But if I don't do it then the other things that will elicit me knowing that they're present is like practicing yoga, doing my gratitude practice. I think it was today. Yeah, it was today. Like I didn't connect in the morning, and I just wrote like a couple sentences of my gratitude practice. It's like, oh geez, they're here. So, and I know one time they said they were here all the time, because I was like, how can I get? And they're like, we're pinging you all day long, but it's like for me to be open to receive it, I have to be like in that grateful space, and that meditative space, and that deeply relaxed space. So yeah, it's interesting. But again, what a blessing. I mean, I was just telling Brian, I mean, we've been receiving communications for not even a year. And I mean, this has totally transformed our lives in the best way possible. So I'm just really, really grateful. But the next thing I wanted to talk about was how we were so out of our depths with this universal language of mathematics. And you want to begin, like you were the first day that we received communication, they assigned Brian homework of finding a book. And you want to talk about that journey of finding the book that we both started reading?
Oh yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, so they were talking about the importance of the prime numbers. So the prime number proof and journey, finding the fingerprint of God by Martin Miller. But it is just something we've talked about this before too. I mean, our dad would be thrilled. He was a mathematician, and of course, we didn't inherit his genes or whatever. We're not very adept at math. And our dad's written these books, and they've got these huge math equations. He'd be right at home in this stuff, but this was just a real challenge for us to comprehend, and it's just not. I had a hard enough time getting through calculus in college, let alone, um, and again, they're advanced formulas and things like that. So it's been a little bit of a challenge about that. And but we did the best we can, because Maureen, what was it that they're trying to give us a formula, but was it just, I can't remember now, was it to solve the prime equation? Like there's a
Well, this is so everybody who's listening. So one day so imagine like the biggest room, the biggest wall in your house. Okay. The longest wall in your house. And imagine it just covered with an equation. And that's what I saw. And they're like, here you go. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, there is just, and I started to, like X plus Y equals A, but there's just no way. And so then he said to me, the next day, because I was like, you guys, I cannot do this. You can't give me a string of letters and numbers and plus and minus and math symbols and expect me to transcribe that. And they said, we attempted to provide you with an easy formula to augment your knowledge of the required subject matter. However, we realize that our idea of easy is not necessarily the same as one who is not familiar with basic formula equations. So yeah, it was just, to me, that just symbolized like how different, that was a simple, easy formula for them to just give to me. And we were just on two totally different planes. And then they went on.
Come on, they gave you the answer, the formula. You can't remember that?
They went on a different day. They said, we wish to correct the perception that we are ignorant of your limited capacity with numbers. The expansions of one mind is necessary to grasp these basically simple concepts. We shall continue to prevail in this important matter. And then another day they said, today turns to our fascination with numbers that you find so complex. We shall attempt to reduce the confusion with regards to the numeric source we prize. So it was just clearly, I travel the world continually and I'm always dealing with like different cultural differences. Like this is a huge cultural difference. What they thought was super simple, Brian and I were like, are you kidding me?
Right. Yeah, that's so funny. But I think it also, remember they suggested that we get a tutor, but I was like, guys, this is not gonna, I don't see a tutor. I don't know. Maybe that's why Aura left. They went on to find someone else who's a little more adept in math so they can convey these formulas or whatever. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
interesting.
so that's what I always thought. So for those listening, like, they came to us every day for like 7 weeks and then they just kind of just started disappearing. And Brian and I just thought, we just cannot get these numbers thing. And then they came and they said, oh, it's not that. But honestly, Brian, didn't it feel like someone who was like, you broke up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend? Oh, and they were like, it's not, it's me, it's not you. I
Yeah,
mean,
right. They're trying to make us feel better. Oh no, it's not that. Everything's good. Yeah, but I'm like, I don't know about that. But
we could not get these numbers. We just could not get. But I wanted to kind of end on a positive note, because they did go on to say, this new realm of thought is budding in the young, but has yet to be born in the scientific journals of your esteemed universities, which are like kindergartens to the rest of the world, the universe. We show you the numeric equation so that you may better familiarize yourself with the fabric of humanity's existence. So, yeah, they did go on to say, they are the fabric of humanity unknown to your revered important scientists. But hopefully one day, a scientist with more knowledge and information on mathematics than you and I, Brian, can get this. What do you think?
right. Yeah, the only thing I think, I mean, most scientists are so, fact-based and don't believe in, if even if someone was contacting them, I think they would be skeptical. Most scientists are very again, you have to prove things to them. So having this information, but yeah, maybe someone that's open can get this information, hopefully. All right, so should I talk the next topic about portals?
Sure.
So the portals, numbers are portals, which is interesting. So we wish to stress the stream of numbers that can pass you by have a corresponding importance. Numbers course through your time and space with seemingly no greater significance. However, we would implore you to examine the numbers that rush by. Again, I'm not sure how we do that, but the frequency of each number is a pulse for which there is a corresponding node which can be accessed. Each number provides a code that may open a portal from which you can access on a different day. What do you think of that, Maureen?
Again, Brian, this is just above my head.
Oh,
I really don't know. And then, do you remember they went on to one time, like they wanted us to actually feel numbers? I remember outside of my hotel room, someone would walk by, be like, what is up with this woman? I was like actually feeling the numbers because they said, if you feel the numbers, there's like an energetic pulse that you can connect to. But honestly, Brian, I mean, again, I just think that this stuff is interesting, but I just think it's beyond me. But if you look at it from a greater perspective, which what I'm hoping to do with this podcast today is just numbers are so important, and we don't even realize how they influence our lives in just these, myriad number of ways. What do you think?
yeah, it's hard to comprehend, and we're just again not aware of them, like the numbers rushing by. And so they go on to say, like the numbers which you seek the answers to are arrayed before you at all times. Maureen, come on, open your eyes. We spread the goodness to delight and please you. It's similar to a light show of your fireworks display. Interesting. I was at a fireworks display last night. Each number radiating a peculiar frequency that resonates in the environment with a shimmer or glow at a higher vibration. At high vibrations, these are readily seen. But again, I don't really understand this. Hopefully, but maybe someone out there does, and we hope we can share this information that someone can, comprehend this and gets, something out of this, hopefully.
Yeah, when we were working with Aura, I was following this mathematician at Cambridge University. I think his name was James Maynard, and I was like, oh, maybe James Maynard can explain all of this to me. We did need a tutor, nothing like a professor at Cambridge University to help us out, but yeah, so hopefully all those who are listening can just get a greater scope of how numbers impact you on a daily basis you're not even aware of. So do you want to close this out, Brian?
Yeah, so the final thing we're going to talk about is, numbers form the fabric of humanity's existence. These equations are similar to your human cells in that they sustain and support your life. So without numeric equations, life would not exist. They're the fabric of humanity unknown to your revered and important scientists. They're always mentioning that about our scientists. The new realm of thought is budding in the young, but is yet to be born in the scientific journals of your esteemed universities, which are like kindergartens to the rest of the world, universe, um, the rest of something. So we show you the numeric equation so that you may familiarize yourself with the fabric of humanity's existence. So um, yeah, so it was that the equation they showed you?
No, that was a different one.
Okay.
That was a different one. So, but yeah, I mean, I had a talking with them after that. I was like, you just really have to break it down and make it simple. And we've had that happen with other people too, who've come through. They'll use like really words that are not in my vocabulary. So if the word's not in my vocabulary, then I can't bring it forth. Um, so it's kind of the same situation. Um, But yeah, so as a closing thought, I thought this was funny. They came through one day. They said, to know these numbers is to know thyself, to quote your esteemed poet Shakespeare. So I will tell you, Brian, ever since then, I do practice numbers every day. So I do use an app, actually two apps, and I practice my numbers every day. So that is one. I am definitely more skilled with basic mathematics than I was when we started with Aura, in September of last year. What about you?
I probably haven't. I know when we were first talking where I was reading a lot of books about mathematics and trying to absorb a lot, but sort of since they've gone away, I've just focused on other things. So I haven't been as diligent as you in that regard. But yeah, it's something that keep in mind that is so important. And I don't know how, but to sort of try and become more aware of the numbers in your world and just be open to them. But it's yeah, I'm just hoping someone else out there can gain some benefit that we're not able to see exactly, but it's
Yeah, so if anyone
fascinating.
else can tutor us on these numbers, let us know.
Well, I know I feel the same way. I feel like they said, our scientists are kindergarten. So what's that make us, Maureen? We're like toddlers. We're like newborns. But anyway, we do our best, and I we hope that you all can get something out of this. So, any final thoughts, Maureen?
Yeah, and I just, I was telling Brad before we get on this, like, if it wasn't for Aura, they were the ones who kind of built the bridge for all these other beings to come forth. And so, yeah, I just only have gratitude and appreciation for them. And I'm sure they're working with other groups that have a better basic knowledge of numbers than you and I, but we gave it our best go. That's for darn sure.
Right, exactly.
We'll talk to you next week, everybody. Thank you so much.